Well, Cheryl Sleboda is here, and she is giving us winged feet. Cheryl, I love these shoes. They are so cute, whether they're little or big. I mean, I'm ready to rock them out.
I know. It's one of the easiest casual cosplays you can do is to put little wings on your feet. So
super cool.
Yeah.
Let's get started then.
All right. So what you're going to do is you're going to need to come up with a pattern for your little winged feet. And what I did was you just trace them out onto your piece of paper. And then you need to make sure you measure the distance on the shoe so that you know exactly where the holes are so that you...
And I will point out that the patterns are going to be on the Make It Artsy website.
Yes,
so
exactly.
That's easy.
Exactly. And if you do draw your own, just be sure that they don't hang too low so they don't create a tripping hazard.
I can see that from the butterfly wings here, that if these were any longer, they might be a little bit dangerous.
Yeah, exactly. So what you're going to do then is you're going to get out your sewable foam, and this is just going to get traced with our little white marker here.
So you could use chalk, you could use anything that's going to show up on that black. That's the important part, right?
Right, and we would just want to be able to see where our lines are so that we can get that all traced out, and then we're going to cut it out, and then we iron it down to our fabric.
But I notice here where it's ironed down, and I should point out, I am magic, or this is ironed and attached, which is you have two pieces of fabric with the right sides together, and then this has a fusible built into it, this foam, and you just iron it on.
You do. You just put that to the wrong side of the fabric, iron it with some heat, no steam, and you're ready to sew.
Let's go to the sewing machine then and get that done.
You got it. All right.
So do you need a sewing machine with fancy stitches, or is this going to work on virtually any sewing machine?
This is a project that works on any sewing machine. As long as you can sew a straight stitch, you can make this.
That sounds easy.
We're going to put it under here, and we're going to create ourselves a tab at this front end. Now this is where our grommets normally go. So we're going to create a tab at that end to flip it all inside out.
Okay, I'm not sure I understand, but I'm sure I will as soon as you start sewing.
Right, exactly. So you're just going to about a ½ an inch away from the edge, and then we're going to sew directly next to the foam. We're not going to sew on the foam.
Why aren't you sewing on the foam? Will it hurt the foam?
No, it doesn't hurt the foam. It's just when you flip it inside out, it gives it enough room for your edge to be flipped.
So if you accidentally caught the edge, it wouldn't be a big deal.
No.
It's just, it's a better look, I guess, if you don't.
Exactly.
Cool.
And I'm sewing with the needle in the down position when it stops so that I can pivot on these little dragon wing feet, so you can see at each of the points where I'm just stopping, the needle is down, and then I'm just
raise the presser foot
and just
turn
flip it.
and
Exactly.
keep going.
And then that is where.
So this is easy because you're just tracing. Now I noticed you didn't go around that back end, and that's the tab thing that you were talking about.
Tab that we're making, yeah. So we're just gonna raise our presser foot, raise our needle. We're gonna cut this off, and then we're going to trim away about a ½ inch with a seam allowance, and then
you're
going
scissors?
to.
I got some for you if you need them.
Exactly. So we're just going to cut right next to it, and you don't have to worry about clipping the seams, but if you do have a shoe wing that has a really deep curve, you're gonna just want to come in and just make a little clip so that it turns nice and easy there.
Okay.
So then once you've got it all the way cut out, then you're gonna flip it.
So this is the tab part, which is open here. And are you leaving this much of it to flip?
I am, because I want to have enough, sort of just enough room to get all of it out.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, and I have one here that I have clipped a little bit short, but we're going to just show you how you just start.
Scrunch it around,
you just
move
get
it around.
You just jam them in there.
You are the boss of it, and you are telling it what to do.
That's it. And you may need to use like a turning device. They have these great little sticks.
I've been known to use the back of a knitting needle. A chopstick will work in a pinch.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just need something that's smaller than your finger to get in there and go after it.
And then if you do have like these little wing parts, right, you just need to get something in there that will poke the little edges out. So.
And I think with turning, the thing that I've always learned is take your time and don't push so hard that you actually push through the seam.
You can actually poke right through them if it's not
careful, or if your turning object is too pointed.
Exactly. So now we have this little tab to work with, and we're just going to tuck all of this, and if it's too long, go ahead and trim it down. But we're gonna tuck it in.
Oh, so you're actually putting it, both sides are tucking in.
Yes.
So that it will create a finished seam.
Exactly. And now we're going to go ahead and sew it
This is like
shut.
making a pillow or any of those things where you want that little finished edge.
And it's nice, and that's where our grommets are gonna go. So if you don't sew it exactly perfully, it's gonna be
notice.
Exactly.
I love projects that are forgiving, and I always try to design things that really are okay for, you know, crafters and makers of all kinds of ages and levels.
Now I'm sewing with a white thread, but you will want to sew with a thread that matches. And so now, once we trim the little threads off, we're ready to put our grommets in. I have this belt notcher. Now, if you wanted to, you could sew over here and create more detail. We're not going to do that this time, but you could do that.
Okay.
And I'm just going to take this belt notcher and I'm going to line it up to where my holes were. So if you need to mark that on your pattern, you can. And you'll just go ahead and...
It's like a giant hole punch, but for fabric or leather or something like that.
And you give that nice, satisfying snap, and you'll just pull the extra away. And now you're ready to put in your grommet.
So a grommet is just, I mean, like you see grommets in shower curtains and regular curtains and all sorts of stuff. Certainly even in shoes. All shoes have grommets too, usually for the laces.
And they're really easy to set because you'll have a nice little plier here and you'll go ahead and set that up. And when you go ahead and squeeze it,
it like flattens it out, right? And now that's not going to ravel. It's finished.
It's totally finished. And if you want to do the second one, we can go ahead and...
And while you're doing that, Cheryl, I just want to point out, here's one where you have done the extra stitching. So if you want to, you absolutely can, but you don't have to. I also noticed you've used black grommets in this one, and that one has silver, and it's really up to you.
Yeah.
And how about the gold lame wings?
I know. And this is a great scrap buster project. It's great for any kind of remnants. So you don't have to have a lot of fabric to make these, but you'll just, you know, go ahead and line these up. And
you gave me a great tip too, because we look back at the finished shoes. I did notice that this shoe only has one wing, whereas this has two. And so you said just take the other wing, put it on the other shoe, and you can just have to make two.
You only have to make two instead of four.
That's awesome. Thank you, Cheryl. I'm ready to be winged.
All right.